individuals fight for their survival, they struggle for their survival, as much as possible, they will endure the pain before even thinking about hurting somebody, before thinking about killing somebody. A lot of people, I'm talking about majority, if you don't believe this, then you don't believe in humanity, and you don't even know what humanity is. See, in spite of all our problems, in spite of so much of ego issues, in spite of so much of suffering, we are still living together, aren't we? We are still here. We are still walking with each other. We're still talking with each other. We're still watching what's happening. But we are still here. We're not going killing people. See, we should never forget that the natural tendency of humanity is not to be violent, is not to kill people. That is not who we are. But if we start supporting those events, and if we start defining our lives based on those events, 9/11 is a classic example. America has changed completely after 9/11. The whole view has changed. It's become a very fearful country. How can we let one event, so in a way we are letting that guy who's dead now and gone, we're letting that guy to win every day. Because this was his intention. His intention was not to kill people. His intention was to change the dynamics of the Western society. His intention was to change the mindset of people. People are happy here. People are going about their lives. They're creating things. They're inventing things. We want them to suffer. We want them to be in fear. That was their motive, right? Now, if we let that happen, if we don't talk about nicer things, if we don't develop a positive state of mind, if we don't cultivate, a positive spiritual environment, then we are letting them win. See, the future of humanity is simply the state of mind that we are in the present. The more we talk about all these things, the more we, entertain the idea, of death, violence, killing, it will start spreading. Today's thought is tomorrow's reality. There is no tomorrow that is just waiting somewhere to happen. It's how we think now. How each and every individual thinks. See, there are only two states from which we can operate. One is a state of absolute hope, love, optimism, and the other one is a state of fear and despair. If we operate from the state of fear, this is what will happen. You got to have handguns, you got to have weapons, you got to have bulletproof vests, you got to fight for your rights, you got to fight for all those things that will never happen in your life. You got to fight for all those things that you are only imagining about. On the contrary, if your foundation is based on love, compassion, then where are these discussions about guns? See, this is all politicians' language. They speak this language because that is what gets people's attention, and that is what gets them out of their homes to go and vote. A lot of these talks, a lot of conversations that politicians have about violence is simply their own created violence, their own imagined violence. For example, the other day Trump was saying that we are being attacked, from the Mexican border. I mean, these are savages. He has sent the military. Can you imagine? It's not a joke. It's a fact. He sent the military to the border to, ensure that these people don't attack. And he says, when somebody asks, are you going to shoot them? I mean, why are you sending the military? It's like, see, we're not going to shoot them. I have not told them to shoot. I hope so. I hope they don't shoot. But if they throw stones at us, it will be recognized as a weapon. If they throw stones, it will be recognized as a bullet and we're going to shoot back. In reality, 1,000 kilometers away, there are a small group of refugees who are fleeing some type of persecution and they're running away from there. That is all is the reality. These are not criminals. These are not savages. These are not beasts, poor people, hungry people, starving people who are looking for, at least they're looking at America in a sense that we can escape all this nonsense and live a good life. That is all what they're looking at. They're not looking to come here and shoot people. But if you listen to him, you would feel like, oh, it's true. People are attacking America from every single direction. Now, why does he talk like that? Because elections are coming and he's campaigning for his party. See, people don't realize all these things. He's openly, blatantly lying. And people are cheering that lie and they're believing that, oh yeah, America has to protect itself because, these Mexicans are throwing stones. See, most people in the world are hungry. They are poor. They've been stripped of their basic human rights, basic spiritual values. They don't have a sense of identity. They're struggling to understand who they are. Most of the people in the world are not so well fed. They're not so, self-secured that they can start thinking about killing somebody else. And everybody knows that they're not going to get anything out of killing somebody. I mean, basic common sense. If I myself am struggling for survival, what am I going to get out of killing somebody? I'm going to be put behind bars. Why do I want to live such a pathetic life? See, some instances will always happen, but we cannot let those instances define who we are. This is why I feel there has to be an absolute law or a rule that news channels or anybody who talks on television, anybody who has power to influence the public should have certain guidelines in terms of how much fear, they are allowed to create. For example, this might be restrictive at this point in time, but think about it. Imagine morally we obligate people to, if you are talking for half an hour, ensure that you are talking about all the murders and weapons and this and that, all those things that trigger negativity in the mind. We have to get it into the basic psychology of human beings. See, a news channel, you're sitting and watching a news channel. If you're watching it for 1 hour, what does it do to your mind? What does it do to your psychology? See, that has to be questioned. And that is how these news channels have to be rated. That is how these television channels have to be rated. Not based on TRP, not based on how many people are watching it. What are you putting in people's mind? We have all the technologies, we're talking about so many different things. Also measure the impact that these, see, they are the biggest problems. Nuisance creators, they are not news creators. They are nuisance creators. And since we don't have other alternatives, and since somewhere there's a part of us that loves to talk about violence, that loves to be, in that state of mind, constantly thinking about all those things. It's an adrenaline rush or whatever you call it. It gives a certain high. Fear also creates a certain sense of heightened awareness. So we kind of like it, but none of that is helpful for us. If, imagine you put a rule and say, news channels have to be aware of the impact that they create on a human being's mind. And if that impact is measured, all it takes is having one team, it could be a government team or somebody, sitting and monitoring these news channels. You can hook it up to the machines or whatever. You can automate all these processes. You don't have to measure it on a large scale. When that information is being aired, just measure it. If it is 51%, if violence and anger and fear and frustration, if it reaches 51%, you shut down that news channel. At least 50% of the time, they need to be creating positive vibes, positive thought processes. They should be giving some solutions to people. They should be helping people to live a better life. 50%. We're not telling that don't report negative news. We're not telling that don't report murders. But doing it all the time,
over and over,
non-stop, 24 hours, over and over. What are you doing to people's minds? At least they need to have, if not as a law, at least it should be like a people's movement where people themselves start judging the information that they are receiving based on this. How much of nuisance am I getting and how much of good information I'm getting? And everybody has an obligation. When we're talking about a society, we all have an obligation. See, if you don't have a solution, you should not be talking about problems all the time. If you have a solution, yes, present the problem and offer the solution. If you don't have it, bring those people who have solutions. You bring people onto your televisions, right? You call them for interviews, you do so many things. Make it an absolute obligation that half the people you invite are the problem creators or the people who talk about the problem. Half the people whom you're going to invite will be the ones who will give the solution. Now, what is the solution for all this? It's only the problem, and we are talking about the problem, and we are living in the problem. That's about it. And we are making the whole world into a very fearful, pathetic place. We cannot be afraid of each other. I would rather die than live in a fear of another human being. It's a pathetic state to live. I have lived in that state all my life. All my life I've been afraid of people for whatever circumstances, the situation in which I grew up in. That's a very bad state to live in. That is like as good as not living at all the time being afraid of somebody. And that is how we are living now. And we're passing that on to the children as well. They're so fearful. Imagine if I decide now I want to just go and talk to a 10-year-old. You will see what pathetic situation we have created in this world. There's a 10-year-old walking on the street. How would people perceive if I just walk up to that person and talk? Would it be perceived as something positive? No. First thought that comes is, there is something wrong here. Why is he talking? What is he doing? But I might just have an intention to have a conversation. Not everybody is raping, not everybody is murdering, not everybody is living like that. A lot of people are good people in this world. A lot of people are sane, beautiful, wonderful people. We are spiritual beings. We are not criminals. Let us not put a criminal tag on human beings just because of these stupid news channels picking up few instances and making it a universal reality. We are all filled with love. We want to love. We want to be compassionate. Yes, when we are pushed in certain difficult situations, we will react. We will express our anger, but that doesn't mean we are bad people. That doesn't mean that we are here to kill each other. I mean, you have reached that states of anger, right? When you have felt like, oh, there's no hope for me. But how many people have you killed? You have just experienced that anger and you have figured out a way to go beyond it yourself. That is who we are. We know how to do all these things. We know how to figure out how to live. We don't have to live in constant fear. See, this is kind of creating a totally different landscape of reality. I cannot freely take a walk and talk to anybody and everybody. I mean, eventually, our whole support mechanism comes from people around us. If we are living in a society, then if we are finding it difficult to interact with people because of these fears, that itself says that we are making our own society non-livable. We want to just run away somewhere, escape from all these things. I think the general mood of the world is one of fear. You know, the mood that people have created. There is a solution. All right, we've spoken about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. Obligation. Half an hour I've spoken about the problem. Half an hour I need to talk about the solution. See, this is where individuals have to exercise their wonderful divine gift, that is their ability to make conscious decisions for themselves. Use their awareness, use their consciousness, use their intelligence to understand what is happening around them. You know, people have to become aware of different motives, different intentions of people. They should become aware of multiple things. See, one is they should very clearly come to an understanding about selling negativity. A lot of people sell negativity because it sells easily. You know, positivity takes time. You have to create it. You have to cultivate it, right? It's like if I want to create a garden of flowers, how much time would it take for me? I need to go find the seeds, I need to, till the land, I need to sow the seeds, ensure that it's not eaten by insects. I need to wait for it for days together, months together, and then slowly that plant will emerge, and then it will slowly produce a beautiful flower. What would it take for me to destroy this whole garden? It would take me a moment. See, destruction is easy in every level. Defaming somebody is easy. Criticizing somebody is easy. Complaining about things is easy. But offering a solution, going and finding a solution that is helpful to you and helpful to people, that is the difficult part. That takes time. That is why we need spirituality in this world. Spirituality is the solution. World is the problem. Our mind is the problem. Our thinking, our thought processes are a problem. So the only way we can counter those problems is by cultivating certain spiritual values. Taking rest, taking a break from watching all these news channels, taking a break from what we are doing and spending some time, quiet time within ourselves. We should start talking about this conscious rest. People have already associated with meditation to be some religious nonsense. It is not. It is a beautiful conscious rest through which you can allow your thought processes to settle. You can see what is happening within your mind. You can see the influence of people. And you can see how negativity is so easy to create and spread. And it's so easy to fall into negativity. It is so easy to just simply become negative all the time, criticizing, complaining, criticizing, complaining. See, we should only criticize and complain as much as it helps us to point out the problems. That is also one tool. If we don't criticize, if we don't complain, then we are not identifying the problem. But we cannot make our lives criticism and complaining. That cannot become our life, right? For a lot of people, that has become their life. They cannot talk without criticizing and complaining. A lot of news channels, that is the way they function. If you actually think about it, the purpose of a news channel should be to offer news, present it, and people should make a choice. Present it neutrally, and people should decide, okay, whether I want this, what's happening, what's not happening. Nowadays, news channels are not presenting news, they are sharing their opinions. They're all having perfectly strong, emotionally bent opinions, and they're sharing it. That means they're not news channels at all. They're influencing people in a certain way. And nobody's there to regulate those things. Nobody's there to question those things. Anyways, it's not regulations that will change all this. It's the mindset of people. When more and more people embrace spirituality, when they realize that, oh, my peace of mind is in my control, let me step away from all these things, naturally the importance that we give to all that reduces. We'll be listening to some nice, pleasant instrumental music. We'll be spending time with people who are talking about, meditation, spirituality. We'll create a small group of people. That's all. How many years we live? In that small life, let's create a small group of people who talk about those things that are relevant for us. See, the world will have problems, and these problems will always be there. Right? We're not trying to create a solution for those problems. We are trying to create a solution for our problem, our addiction to all these things. How do we step away from all that? We can only deal with the individual. We cannot deal with the media, or we cannot deal with the general population. One individual at a time. One heart at a time. One mind at a time. Because this is the solution, and solution takes time. If I have to just spread some bullshit nonsense, I can do it much more quickly. Just like baptism. It's much more easy. I can baptize the whole world. I've already given the solution. Use those machines that is used for pesticides. Acres and acres of land, is what do you call it? You fertilize it, or you put pesticides, insecticides. Huh?
You just spray.
You just spray. Just take that bloody machine, put your holy water in it, go to a Super Bowl.
There's the solution.
There is the solution. Just halftime break. Just pray, everybody. Be done with it.
Oh, God.
Use technology. I'm helping you. Christians, I'm helping you. You baptize the whole world. But see, that's not a solution. Solutions take time. You have to work with individuals. You have to work with their minds. You have to work with their body. I mean, more than anything, you don't have to work with them. You have to give them that space. That is all what we need. See, individuals are born with this wonderful ability to find solutions. We are all born, we are all born divine beings. We have messed up ourselves with this human mechanism. Human is our problem. It is not our solution. We have a being within us. That being which watches all our stupidities. But it cannot do anything. It's only the human who can do something. That being simply watches everything. If we can get in touch with that part of us, the being part of us, and learn how to step away a little bit from the human mechanism, from the mind, from the thoughts, from the flow of emotions. If we can find that open space, that is all what we are looking for in this world. We're not looking for another solution. We're not looking for another brilliant idea. Humanity will not be saved by another brilliant idea. It will be saved when we realize that all our ideas are stupid. They are only meant for certain purposes. They are not the solution. We have ideas, we entertain certain ideas because we are addicted to ideas. The real solution is in teaching people how to step away from all ideas, all concepts, and take some time for themselves. Every day, few hours in silent contemplation, silent meditation, listening to music, doing something creative, using your minds, using your bodies, doing something that you can do as an individual. Really, an individual, no matter what he is doing, as long as he is doing with his own mind, with his own body, for himself, he will never be a problem for society. The biggest problem for the society comes from people who are not interested in themselves. They're interested in everybody else. They want to change the whole world. They want to change the whole country. They want to change the earth. They want to change everything, but not themselves. That's where the whole problem is, right?